Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host Simon Conboy. Taking a bit of a detour today, not going to be doing one of my draft previews for this video. Already done two today, so that was plenty. Did an episode similar to this not long back, my quarterback Quandary series. This is a series where we discuss one of the teams that has a problem at the quarterback spot, whether it be a question mark of a player or just a question mark of a position. And this episode will be focusing on what do the Houston Texans do. This is a roster, of course, that's won the division 3 years in a row now, I believe, or at least made the playoffs 3 years in a row under Bill O'Brien. Very talented roster, defensively very, very good. I mean, we saw in particular last year, I think, when you lose arguably the top defender in all of football in JJ Watt, and the unit still kept humming along and played very, very well. Clowney had a bit of a breakout season. Whitney Merciless played very well. Secondary played pretty well. It's a good group. Offense, we know there's good weapons there. DeAndre Hopkins, great player. Lamar Miller's solid. Got some pieces on the O-line. This is a good team that certainly should be competing to make the playoffs and possibly make some noise in the playoffs. And yet, the last few years, the quarterback position has absolutely held them back. Of course, last year, they were hoping that they had this solved in signing Brock Osweiler to a really big deal, unproven, but it looked okay in the limited time he'd seen for the Broncos. That, of course, was a total disaster, was benched towards the end of the season, and is now with the Browns in one of the stranger trades given to the Browns along with a second round pick, basically to take the salary off of Houston's hands. The theory was, going into this offseason, they were going to be all in on going after Tony Romo. Romo, it sounded like he was reciprocating that interest. Of course, staying in state would be convenient for him in his family life, and out of the conference as well, so Jerry Jones would have had that. However, Tony Romo has announced his retirement and he'll be commenting for CBS next year, and I'm sure he'll be an upgrade on Phil Simms, who I was not a big fan of personally. Unfortunately, this has left the Texans in limbo. So they've got Tom Savage, who's looked middling at best. Who knows, he could be decent. He's not seen much of the field, but really, a team that is theoretically ready to win now, you want to have an option that you can feel good about for the long term, and ideally someone for the short term that could help you potentially compete to make some noise in the playoffs. And at this point in time, of course, this year's draft has been heavily scrutinised for the lack of top-end talent at the position. What do the Texans do? I don't think they're going to go in. They can't go into the season with Tom Savage. I don't get the impression, if the coaching staff had enough belief in him, I think he'd have, they would have pulled Brock Osweiler far earlier in the season to give this guy a shot. It's apparent to me that they're going to do something, and frankly, I believe they have to. In terms of the draft, they're picking in the mid-20s. It's not easy to predict who's necessarily going to be there. Even with the group being fairly heavily criticised, I still think about 3 are going to be gone before the Texans select. Of course, giving away that draft pick along with Brock Osweiler gives, they don't have a second this year, so the possibility of trading up essentially means mortgaging next year's draft. You'd have to think. And do you want to do that for one of these prospects? Is in terms of guys that you think can step in now, I'm not sure there is one. Personally, Kaiser and Mahomes are the two quarterbacks I most like in this year's draft. I think Mahomes is a developmental prospect, but I think he's got the best overall skill set for the modern game. Good arm, good mobility, quick release. But from what I've seen, it's too skittish in the pocket. I don't know if he'd, coming from that scheme, be able to adjust quickly to an NFL passing game. Kaiser looks more like your prototypical, pocket quarterback. Great arm, good passer, but saw a lot of inconsistencies there. I think he'd struggle if he was forced to start from day one. I think they both could well be available for them. I think Watson's someone who's likely going to be gone by that point. Trubisky, by all accounts, sounds like he'll be long gone. He's considered by most to be the top prospect in the draft at the position. So whether they get a shot at either of those guys, I'm not sure. I think Mahomes is going to be someone that's going to be targeted. So I think the Texans may need to try and move up. You've got teams like the Chargers, the Bills, the Cardinals. Even the Steelers could be looking to trade up to get a guy, although that would be very much unlike them. I think maybe Watson might be the most ready to start, just I think the style of the level of competition that he played in the AC obviously wasn't the highest, but he won a lot of games. I think he'd cut him in. He'd be the confident. I think that sort of pedigree, winning a national title, I think that gives guys around him more confidence as well, and his ability to run, I think, could serve him reasonably early in his career, but I just don't see him available. So really, the draft, I don't think the solution is there for the short term. I think in next season, that's what this Quandary is about. They need to try and fix something for next year. I think if they can get a guy like Davis Webb in round 3 again, I don't even know if that will be an option, then they should possibly look to do so. Now, this may sound crazy, and a lot of people will probably balk at this. I honestly believe at this stage, the best solution for the Texans going into next season is to sign Jay Cutler. I really do. It's as much grief as Jay Cutler has gotten over his career, he's not a terrible starting quarterback. Every year we see worse guys. No, he's not going to be a top 10 guy, and he's probably not going to threaten a Pro Bowl. But bear in mind, he does have that ability, and he'd be on a good team. Bear in mind how bad these Bears teams have been around him for the last few years. It's certainly not been an easy ride for him there. Had some success in Chicago in those early years as well, when they had good weapons around him. Forte, you had Marshall, you had Jeffrey. They were some pretty good offenses, but managed to get to an NFC title game at one point, which he got knocked out of. But he's not inspiring by any means, absolutely not. But he's a veteran. He's played a lot of games in this league. If you're going to bring someone in who can pick up the playbook, you'd think reasonably quickly. We know he's got the arm talent, can still move around to a degree. If you want to win next season, go into the season as your favourites within that division, I really do think Jay Cutler is the best option. He's certainly better than what you had last year. Definitely not going to perform as badly as Brock Osweiler did, and he still managed to win the division. I don't see an alternative at this point in time. I think we can probably guess at this point they're going to wait until the draft, see if there's a guy they like. I think they may have their eye on Mahomes. Whether he's going to be an option, I don't know. I just feel if you want to win games next year, relying on a rookie is not the way to go. It's just not. Even if it was a very highly touted prospect, I'm not a fan of any of the other options. Of course, free agency having come and gone, the free agent market is basically bare at the position. Whether there's anyone that you'd want to trade for, they're not going to have the ammunition to go get Garoppolo, especially considering, from the sounds of things, there are other teams that like Garoppolo. They're not going to outbid the Browns or, even the Skins or Niners. Not saying the Skins would, but, if the Skins were to move Kirk Cousins to San Fran, maybe they'd then do something to get Garoppolo, who knows. But, they don't have the ammunition to make a trade for even a guy like, AJ McCarron, who some people certainly has his name thrown about for these trade talks. It's a tough spot. It really did feel like the Texans were all in on Tony Romo. And, most of us, me included, were assuming that was going to be the case. And, if that was the case, drafting a guy at the end of the first round to develop behind him seemed perfectly plausible. But I think Bill O'Brien really needs to get this right, otherwise he could end up losing his job. They've been successful under him, but have they progressed? I don't think they're any better than when he took the job in the first place, really. And he's mismanaged this quarterback position. I think needs to get it right, otherwise he could be paying with his job. I think Texans fans will be, in uproar if they bring in a rookie and that has a disastrous first month. They go 0-3, then things could just go downhill from there. I really don't feel like they've got, the ability to sit and wait as a front office for a rookie to develop. Just do it. People will laugh. People will rip on this front office. But just do it. Just go sign Jay Cutler. It's the only option. I still think he could certainly lead this team to 10 or 11 wins this season. The division's still not particularly good, even though the Titans may be an ascending team. I still don't believe with Bortles the Jags will be a threat. And Andrew Luck still needs a lot of help in Indianapolis. This team is still the class of the division if they can fix this quarterback position. Cutler is the only option, unless they want to go with the Kaepernick train, but I can't see that. I'll quickly mention that. I think that's the other option that's out there, but this position, because of the quality of Houston's overall roster, is going to be scrutinised, and Kaepernick brings that on his own. Even if we saw last year when he's back up, it brings a lot of attention. My issue would be, with all the stuff he's doing off the field, I personally have no problem with it, but it does make me question a little bit whether his attention is totally focused on football. And tough evaluation last year, that Niners team around him offensively was really, really poor, and he did show some glimpses, of course, in terms of physical talent. He's got it, all of it, great arm, and we know he's a great athlete as well on top of that. But I just don't know if you want to. That's probably the only other option, but I just don't see it happening. I don't think you want to bring that uproar to the franchise. I think it'd be a big distraction, and again, if he got off to a poor start, things could spiral. And certainly, obviously, that rings true with any quarterback, even if they bring Cutler. But I do think Cutler is the guy you can bring in that's got a lot of experience, can probably operate with the talent around him. You'd have to think he's certainly better than what he's had the last few years in Chicago. That's my solution to this quarterback quandary. Still draft a guy in round 1. Absolutely. Certainly consider it, unless they're all gone. You're not happy with any of those options, but draft a guy, bring in Jay Cutler. I'm not sure Jay Cutler's exactly the mentor that you want for your young QB, but you can sign someone else to do that job in the quarterback room. I'm not sure you'd want to. I can't imagine Jay Cutler as a tutor, personally. So that's my theory. Texans fans, what do you think? I understand you'd probably be disappointed with Cutler, but what alternative do you see in terms of having a successful 2017 season? Let me know, whether it's in the comments below, whether it's finding it Cover Zero on Facebook or finding me on Twitter at Simon Conboy. Let me know. It's always fun to respond to these things. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, check out some of the others doing draft previews at the moment. Did some franchise and draft reviews covering the last decade and some other cool stuff. Check those out. Like, share, subscribe. Check out the Patreon, all that good stuff. Be thoroughly, thoroughly appreciated by myself. As always, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time, and go Bucks.